Right, good day all. Good morning all. So we are moving on to Surah al Hujurat. Right, if I pronounced it correctly, forgive me if I didn't. It's called the chambers. Right, and the chambers refer to what? Chambers of your heart. Right, chambers of your heart. Right. I want to make a point and I want to make it abundantly clear about my stance on a particular issue, and that is with regard to wives of the prophet. Right, wives of the prophet. Right. Should people want to adopt that philosophy and practice, right, it is all on them and their responsibility. But I, as a person, do not have an interest in that, do not support that 101% for me personally, and I do not support it as a practice, right? But for those who wish to abide by that practice due to the culture emanating from whatever their culture is descended from, right? It is all on you, and it is your responsibility to fulfill that in a way that it should be fulfilled, right? So my reason, and I said this in a private video since a few years ago, right, that I made on my phone, that no person, no man is able to treat 5 or more wives with equivalence, right? Even if you are materially able to provide for 5 people, 5 wives, you are not able to love five women in the same way, right? You are not able to provide affection, love, care, right, in a way that women typically require, need, desire, in that way, right? No man is able to do that, right? That's one point, right? Second point I want to capture in this, right? The Quran, one of the things the Quran is about is helping us to break a particular thing, and this is what Buju Banton would have mentioned in one of his songs, made reference to pass away this curse, right? What the curse is referring to, right? The curse is referring to that of incest and incestuous relationships. What is incest and incestuous relationships? Is sexual relations between biological family members, right? Family members that are biologically related, right? Sexual interaction between family members that are biologically related, right? Or even sexual thoughts towards them, right? Action first, you move away from that, then you try to move away from thoughts, and so on regarding these things, right? So part of what I am called here to do with conviction, right, is to help people to move away from that. And how you can move away from that, it is in the Quran, because the Quran states with explicit clarity, right, with explicit clarity, who are the persons who are not allowed and allowed you are allowed to engage in these relations with, right? So this is something that is the root, and it is a feature apparently of chosen, what they call chosen families, or descendants of chosen families, and it's one of the things that I was called here to help to stop. I mean, not even alleviate, but to stop, right? To stop, right? To put an end to, right? Put an end to it, right? So this is what we are helping people to do by virtue of the Quran. So people say, and even I have said that the book is in my event, and now that the book is evil, this practice, Islam is evil, whatever. But if people want to actually get to the root of your problems, right, your problems, your social problems, right, there's no better book than the Quran to help you to do so, right? We are moving on. This is Surah 49, right? O you who have believed, do not put yourself before Allah and His Messenger, right? But fear Allah, meaning fear the consequences of your choices. Allah is all hearing and knowing, right? So you who have believed, do not put yourself before Allah and His Messenger, meaning that do not, one, it could be interpreted, one, do not put yourself, if you were called to do something, right? Meaning, if I'm called to help do something or to share a message and help somebody else, right? Let that be at the forefront. Do not be selfish, right? So do not allow your selfishness, right, to take precedence over what you are called here to do. If you speak, to share messages, to help somebody in person, right? Do not let your selfishness take precedence over that which you were called here to do, or one of the many things you were called here to do, however you see it as, right? Right. Right, so don't so make Allah your first priority, right? And if you are called to be someone, to be there for, or be amongst, or to work with messengers of Allah, right? Make that your priority, as opposed to putting your selfish desires, whether it's consumption, whether it's things of the world, whether it's luxury, whatever it is, putting your consumptive patterns, your desires, your selfishness to the side, right? For a bit at least, or at least until you complete whatever task, or whatever you're called here to do, right? So that is my interpretation of that verse 1, right? Right, so this is, do not raise your voices above the voice of the prophet, or be loud to him in speech. Now I want to make a point that even prophets are loud in their speech and can be harsh in their words, right? So this is why I want to raise the point that, hey, let us not be harsh and loud in words to each other, right? To each other, right? So we don't want a situation where if there's a prophet and a prophet is harsh or rude or loud, right? Or brash or brutal in the way that they express certain things, or the way that they act, that you have to submit yourself to that kind of behavior. It must be equivalent. You as a human being, right? And that's why I do not fancy the term prophet at all, because it is like a blind allegiance to something, and that something could be oppressive,